So I didn't click the go live button. So Jenna and I started the show. I'm talking and I'm like, why isn't it showing up on crap? Why isn't it showing up on YouTube right now? Well, because I didn't hit go live. Welcome to the Ethan and Jenna Show. I'm one of your hosts, Ethan, and alongside me is Jenna. Jenna, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Actually, we're getting a caller already. This is exciting.
We are.
Or it says it's screening. Oh, it's a screener number. Never mind. I'm just kidding. But so, hey, we do have open lines to talk about this stuff. So since the topic is rest, we're going to be talking basically about rest and sleep and how to some more self-care and mental health. And I guess when it comes to my mental health, I'm doing pretty well. I am taking plenty of naps.
Good. Naps are always nice.
Yes. How about you?
Well, we're here at our new time slot. We're hoping everyone is still able to tune in. We moved it from Sundays over to Thursdays just because there is a lot of shows going on Sundays, and our moderators and screeners, it would be exhausting on them if we kept the same time slot, and we don't want to compete with any of the other great atheist shows. So hopefully we did want to do Mental Health Mondays, but unfortunately it's not a good day for me. So let us know your thoughts on this new Thursday time slot.
It looks like we've got some people in the chat. We got people popping up. So let's go forward.
Good evening, Darren from the UK. Hi, Jazz. Hi, Junk Shop. Hi, Kaitlyn, our lovely call screener. You're fine, Kaitlyn. I actually didn't even think you could be here to call screen today. So thank you for call screening. We are looking, YFNA in general is looking for more call screeners. If this is something you'd be interested in volunteering for, please let us know. We need someone for every Thursday, or could rotate in every other Thursday from essentially 3:50 p.m. Central Time to around 4:30 Central Time. Sorry, 5:30 Central Time. And then we've got the perspective every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. That goes for about 2 hours. And then Hannah and Vaughn's the pickup line every Thursday at 9 p.m. Central Time, and that goes for about an hour. So if any of those time slots work and you'd be interested in rotating and call screening for any of our shows, it would be greatly appreciated. Please reach out and let myself or Jenna Belk know.
Yeah.
But today's topic, mental health and rest. And I will say one thing I learned is how important rest is, at least for me, because Jenna, I'm sure you recall, I last summer, like a year ago, had a pretty bad mental health crisis. And one of the reasons doctors believe that happened was because after I recovered from all my health issues, I wasn't sleeping. My brain was just so active that I was sleeping maybe 3 to 4 hours a night. And this went on for just over a year. And that was just compounding. I was getting more and more exhausted, but yet I still have this like energy at the same time. But I was feeling it. And I remember when I first I tried this medication and I first got my first good night's rest, it was frigging awesome and it felt so good.
Well, and not only that first night, but I've actually
Hi, Jared.
I've been learning a lot about rest and sleep and what your body needs. And so you had some mental health things going on, and that prevented you, and the not getting enough rest kind of escalated it. And I had kind of a similar thing where I've been diagnosed with PTSD. And so when I don't get enough rest, I get very short-tempered and I can be very snappy. I can just be very, irritable. And so once I started resting, I started meditating, I started taking breaks, allowing myself to listen to my body. And when I need to take a nap, if it's possible, even if it's in my car, take a nap. Like when I was waiting tables and I would have to pull a double shift and I'd be crazy tired, I'd go to my car in between shifts and I'd take a nap. It's if you don't get enough sleep, it's like not getting enough food.
Right.
Your body will deteriorate and it will take that sleep back. And so if you wait days before getting enough sleep and then you go on a drive, this is so common where you can be intoxicated, like somebody that's drunk. because your body doesn't have enough fuel. It doesn't have enough energy to carry on, and you can pass out. Your body will take over eventually if you don't give it enough sleep, and it will pass you out. So you can wreck, you can kill someone, you can kill yourself. So this is, I mean, it's serious stuff, like mental health and rest. I mean, I'm so glad we're doing this topic today, because this is not something that people typically talk about. Like, how much do you sleep? You know?
Right. And, you know, some people, you know, have actually advised me, I don't know if you've had any people say this to you, that we shouldn't be doing this because we're not mental health experts. And the difference here is we are not trying to be mental health professionals. We are not giving medical advice. We are just sharing our opinions and asking people to call in and share their experiences, because mental health issues need to be normalized, and we should be able to talk about the issues we suffer from openly and honestly.
We are working on getting some mental health professionals to partner with to help us out with these topics and to add perspective. But the whole point of this show is not to educate people about psychology and neurology and science and all that. This is to normalize conversation. This is to let people be heard. This is to let people learn how to talk about taking care of ourselves and how to ask for help. And so this kind of gives you an opportunity when you call in. You can talk about your experience with lack of sleep, or how you discovered, you know, how you discovered you rest best, you know. So while we're waiting for everyone to get their phones, just want to share a website that I found, ideas.ted.com. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of TED, but TED Talks. Have you heard of that, Ethan?
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, it's very random. It's educational. It's got all kinds of perspectives. Some are kind of loony, you know, just like kind of like the internet. But there's some really good stuff on there from my own personal opinion. And I found one article on that website where it names 7 different types of rest. And I always thought, you know, there's just like sleep and there's taking breaks. But it's so much more than that. There are so many different ways that you need to rest your mind. And as I was reading through this, I was like, oh my God, I need to rest from that. Oh my God, I need to rest from that. So you want me to go through the list real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
And then we can elaborate with everyone. So the 7 types of rest are: 1, physical; 2, mental; 3, sensory; 4, creative; 5, emotional; 6, social; and 7, they call it spiritual. But after reading the description, just because that can be kind of a triggery word for some people, I kind of got the impression that it's referring to a type of rest where you're not focusing on yourself. You're focusing on someone else. You're volunteering, or you're giving back, or you're donating something. Even if you're going and loving a cat, you know, just to give to someone else. So however you want to label that rest.
Speaking of loving a cat,
you can call it spiritual, or you can call it something else. I'm just going to call it like selfless rest. But yeah, so if anybody wants to zone in on any of those in particular, go ahead and let that, you know, like pick your topic and call us so we can talk about it. But throughout the show, we can talk about the different kinds of rest.
So we do have a one question from the audience. Now, it's a bit off topic, kind of on topic, but I don't know if this is something we can answer. So I'm going to defer to you on this one. Darren wants to know, do you have any thoughts on recovery methods for addictions, i.e., you know, alcohol, drugs, and the effect it has on getting back into a sleep pattern? Also, do you think addiction is a mental health problem or learned behavior? I know the second part of that question we probably should not answer. The first part, I don't know. I got to defer to you on this one, Jenna.
I'm not sure I can answer that question for you. I'm not a professional, but I can let's leave it up there for a minute, because I can definitely share my experience, because actually that's kind of the point in my life that I zone back to when I think about my change in rest. When I talked about how I had PTSD and I wasn't getting enough rest, so it made me so much more snappy and irritable. It was when I discovered that I wasn't getting enough rest. I was drinking too much. I was an addict. And after rehab, where they make you, if you do inpatient, in some, at least at the place that I was, they made us get up at 7 o'clock and we had to clean. And it so kind of gave you time to kind of get a routine and to get yourself to sleep earlier. And so that's actually when I started focusing more on rest. So just to be fair, that's a really good point. And that's, I can't say that, well, actually I can share my recovery method was rehab. Being locked away from alcohol for a long period of time, with classes, with support, with validation and activities, and being able to not have all of these trigger things around me, the cabinet door where it's kept, whatever. That's how I sobered up. And I'm, let's see, two months away from being 4 years sober.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
Great. I've become pretty anti-alcohol personally. I've got my mentality around it to be basically it's really hurt me, and it's really hurt people around me that I care about. And so I don't want to give it any more credit, anyway, so.
So yeah, sorry, I forgot to put my phone on silent. Now it's on silent. There we go. We should probably go into this another time, but for me, alcohol is kind of a trigger. While I will drink once in a while, I have drank with my partner, it still makes me uneasy because I feel people can be fairly irresponsible with it and with their actions, meaning like they get out of control very easily. And I personally, I don't understand necessarily how alcohol causes people to make really poor decisions, because for me, yes, I could get drunk, I could get sloppy drunk, but it doesn't necessarily impact, at least that I've noticed, my decision-making skills. I've never done something where I'm like, I regret that. For me, it's like, would I do this sober? Nope, I wouldn't do this sober, so I'm not going to do it drunk.
Oh,
For me, I don't actually understand why people can't control themselves.
Have y'all been able to hear me this whole time?
Yeah.
I must have a really good setup. Anyways, yeah, so I am one of those people, and this is why I've sobered up, and I've got straight, no drinking. I become a different person when I drink, and it's, how do I describe it? So I think it's because of my PTSD, because what happens is I basically turn into an angry child version of myself.
An angry Jenna Belk. So I can't picture that.
If you got me drunk and then told me that I wasn't driving or took my keys, I guess the fact that you were trying to control me in any way triggered the fuck out of me. I would insist that the more I drank, the better driver I was, because the better attention I paid.
What?
And I was just delusional. But I've done so many things that even I can remember, and I blacked out a lot. So I know I've done a lot of things that I don't remember. People could come up to me and show me a video of myself from 5-6 years ago, and I can be doing something that would shock me.
Really?
Yeah. I become a different person, and I don't know why. I'm actually interested. We're not mental health professionals. I have the desire to be. So I am working on trying to go back to school so that I can become one. And I want to look into things like that, addiction and recovery, and mental health in general. And I want to find out answers to things like that, because I don't know that there is an answer to why some people can actually become a different person from drinking and some people don't. I black out so much and I become a different person.
I've never blacked out. Like my 21st birthday, I was at the bar in between, like there's the entry door and the next door. I was in between those two doors, just laying on the floor, running outside, puking, running back in. I'm just like completely out of it. But I remember it all. Like
I remember moments like that, but most of the days there's like, it's just gone.
So my ex would tell me it's because I'm a freak and I'm too obsessed with controlling my mind that I don't ever truly let go.
I don't know. I'm pretty obsessed with controlling my mind too, which is actually, I think that might be why I black it out, is because my mind has decided, you know what? You don't need to remember this. And what I've learned about blackout drinking, and so this is totally off topic, but it's valid. What I've learned about blackout drinking is that there's a saturation level of your brain. I don't know why some people's brains become more saturated or less saturated or whatever based off of how much, but basically your different memory systems get messed up. Like your short-term memory is still there, but your long-term memory just doesn't process those memories. It just doesn't make it that far. That's something, I forget where I read that, so I could actually be totally wrong. I recommend people looking into it because it's a very interesting subject. So do we want to talk about rest and sleep a little more? I think
let's get back to that.
We have a caller.
Ooh, maybe we should get to our caller first.
I think so.
Okay. Right. We got Jazz wants to talk about needing rest with the kind of work, retail job, maybe advice for other jobs that might be good. Jazz, you are on with Jenna and Ethan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty okay today. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good. What do you want to chat about?
I was just gonna talk about so I work in retail, actually, grocery stores.
Thank you for your service.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. It's been the worst during COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's pretty easy. The only thing that I do like about the retail job kind of thing is that you can be pretty flexible with your hours, and especially me. I was a manager for a couple years, and now I'm the assistant manager, so I'm the one that helps make the schedule. So I figured out, halfway through being in charge, that if I'm on for a standard Monday through Friday 40-hour week, I get so burnt out. And have you heard of spoon theory?
Spoon?
I don't know.
Health and stuff.
No, what is that?
So it's a thing that people came up with to talk about chronically ill people and also people with mental health issues. It's this theory that every day you wake up with a certain amount of spoons, and it costs a certain amount to do everyday things. It costs 1 spoon to take a shower, and it costs 1 spoon to make breakfast for yourself, and it costs 7 spoons to go to work or something like that. And for mentally ill people or people with mental health issues and chronically ill people, they have a less amount of spoons than other people. So they run out of energy faster. And that's how I've always visioned my energy, is with the spoon theory.
From what I've learned, that's actually exactly how it is. Regardless of who has more or less, everybody has X amount of spoons or spins at the beginning of their day. And when you're out, you're out.
Exactly. Exactly. So like I figured out that I would run out of spoons a lot quicker on towards the end of my 40-hour week, or if I had several days in a row that I was working, just because it was too much for me, you know, being around people all day, getting asked questions. It was just too much for my introverted self. So like I just wasn't able to do it. So I figured out that I can be on for like 3 days, usually tops. And after that, if I do like 4 or 5, 6 days in a row, sometimes I've done like 10 or 12, you know, because retail is the worst. But like when that happens, I run out of spoons a lot quicker in the day. And it just like, it's like I shut off. You know, I'll be coming back from lunch and I don't want to talk to anybody. I'll be like, kind of like give off an aura of like, don't talk to me kind of thing. And like people have told me I have like a bitch face when I come back from those, you know, on those specific days. So
how do you make sure you get enough rest?
That really helps me.
Sorry, you're going into that already. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry. There's a delay, so sometimes we cut each other off. Jazz, continue.
Yeah. So like I was just saying, you know, I figured out that I have to work less days. So I can't really take 2 days off in a row, more or less. So I have to break it up, and it really helps my mental health a lot. And then like, so I don't want to be in retail forever, because nobody wants to do that. I've learned.
Well, but for people who are still
a lot of apprehension.
But for people who are still in retail or stuck in retail or happily in retail or whatever, and they're trying to get enough rest, how do you, when you have those days, because I used to wait tables and I know what it's like when you have to work doubles day after day after day, how do you make sure you get enough rest when you're in that situation?
I usually come home and just allow myself to not have to do anything. So like if my schedule, I know that I'm going to be working like 10 days in a row or something, you know, or if I know a holiday's coming and I'm going to have to work overtime, I make sure and get like frozen food for myself so I don't have to cook, you know, and I make sure I got my laundry done so I don't have to do that or don't have to worry about that. You know, like little stuff like that, just as much as I can on my days off when I know that's going to happen. I like try to take all of the little stuff off my plate so that when I come home, I can just sit down and pretend that nothing else exists.
Right.
And just play video games or whatever, you know?
Yeah. So you don't beat yourself up. You don't call yourself lazy. You don't.
Yes, we're getting a lot of heavy breathing. Are you able to kind of like back away or not? It sounds like you're blowing into the mic, unfortunately.
Maybe just talk about it from an angle.
Better?
Yes.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
So, so basically what you're saying is you take care of yourself and you give yourself that time to shut off, and you kind of shave off little things that take up your energy here and there. Right. And you don't beat yourself up.
I try very hard not to, just because, you know, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I used to at the beginning. I was like, well, everybody else can. Everybody else can come home and then like go out with their friends, or people can work, like especially certain people in retail that have been there for a long time. That are just like, quote unquote, super dedicated to what they do. They'll work, you know, 60 hours a week and be totally cool. Like they'll go and often have barbecues and stuff. And I'm like, I cannot do that. I can barely even handle an 8-hour day.
I would push back on when people are working 50, 60, 80-hour weeks and they appear like they've got it all together. I can almost guarantee you there's at least one aspect of their life that they are struggling with.
Absolutely.
I used to work like 80 hours a week. I mean, I still actually do work a lot. but I had 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job when I was much younger. But there was many other aspects of my life, even though I was dedicated to the work and like working my ass off. There's other areas where I'm just like a complete scatterbrain. It's almost easy for me to work because of how I was raised, but there are a lot of other aspects of my life that are not so easy.
So yeah, I think Kenneth Leonard actually is the person who really got me into the idea of having more competition with yourself rather than going to the whole mindset of, well, what is everybody else doing and what is everybody else capable of? Because I guarantee you, everybody else, there's nothing that everybody else is capable of. I mean, there's something there that they got it all to.
Sorry.
It's okay. But you know what I mean? Like, so just to have that competition with yourself, like you're saying you've been doing this for 3 years. So you've learned your patterns, you've learned your limits, you know, so to expect X amount more from yourself when you haven't had the opportunity or the time to build up to whatever that amount is, it's just unrealistic, you know, and it's a waste of time and energy. And so if you just take it one step at a time and go easy on yourself, let yourself rest when your body is demanding it. I mean, it sounds like you're doing all right, right? I mean, I know it's obviously not fun, not ideal.
I mean, it's not ideal, but like, I think I'm doing pretty good. I've really, my therapist and I have been really focusing on letting me be me and everybody else be themselves, and not really focusing so much on what everybody else can do, because that's probably bullshit, you know? And I've actually tried to help some of my other, like my manager, for example, grew up in an era that where mental health wasn't a thing that you talked about, right. You know? So we're 2 different generations. So like, he'll say something, I'm like, well, and here's the thing. And then I explain to him, and then he just sits there and like, oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess. You know, so like, I think little things like that where, you know, you feel like I'm really feeling more like I can be more of a mental health advocate now in my like workplace, because, you know, I've kind of figured out more or less that this is what works for me. And I see other people struggling, and I'm like, okay, well, here, this worked for me. Maybe think about, maybe it works for you. You want to try it? I can help you with the schedule or something, you know? And like trying not to have people shame everybody for not wanting to work, because that's a huge thing in like grocery stores, is if you can't come into work on your day off, everybody else is like, well, I came in on my day off kind of thing. Just like trying to help everybody else kind of learn about mental health too.
I got a real quick, slightly off topic. I got a reply to one of the comments that was made. I want to be very clear when we were talking about addiction earlier. I did not say I don't understand addiction or that addiction is not real. If that's what you think I said, I would highly recommend going back and listening. I said no such thing. What I was saying is I don't understand like blacking out or making different decisions under the influence. Not saying they don't happen. I'm just saying I didn't understand that. I hope that brings more clarification to what I said.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Anyways, rest. What were we talking about?
I apologize. Addiction's a heavy topic, and I didn't want like someone to think I was saying I didn't understand addiction or didn't think it was real, because that's a big thing.
Right.
I totally derailed it. I am so sorry.
I tried to keep it. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jazz.
It's all good. Now that it's in the afternoon, I work in the morning, so maybe I'll be able to call in more often.
Yeah. So have you been watching the show for a while?
Oh yeah, since day one, actually. Yeah.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah, I never have Sundays off. So it was.
And you still
very
been
exciting.
faithful.
Oh, hey.
You're awesome, Jazz. Do you want to talk any more about any other kinds of rest, like your sleep, or actually any of the other 7 types of rest that I named?
Yeah, I heard you say it briefly before I called, but like I had never thought about like different kinds of rest. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I think as a quote unquote introvert, I knew about this, like the social one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm totally good, but I cannot be around people anymore, which
Right.
also plays into my work because I work with the public, you know.
Well, and so
I
that actually
have to be done with that.
And so it actually kind of brings up a good one that might, I mean, I don't know if this will help you or anything. I just thought it was interesting, but the sensory one. So when you're working in a grocery store, you've got fluorescent lights around you all the time. And then, you know, if you're playing video games and you've got that light from their screen. And so it's important to give yourself time away from lights and to go and grab a fuzzy blanket or put on some warm socks, you know, or something like that, where you can just kind of focus on the present and your senses, and maybe listen to some good music that can kind of take you away too.
Yeah, like that's a great suggestion. I'm gonna try that, definitely. But like, I also have PTSD, and I've noticed that when I'm working, I have to always be on like a swivel because I cannot have anybody come up behind me, and it really will like trigger me and make me flip out a little bit. So I'm always on a swivel, and you know, the lights and the noise and like everything. So I live by myself, and I've noticed that I have to live by myself because then I can just be me and not have to worry about everybody else.
You know, that's actually an interesting idea of living by yourself. Like, actually, I know I'm not going to give any like impression of who I'm talking about, hopefully, but I know 2 people that are currently living separately, yet they're still together, and they're learning that they actually work better when they have their own private separate quarters. You know, there's people I know who also have separate rooms. You know, it's to give yourself that space. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah, and for some people it's very important. So.
Right.
Well, Jazz, was there anything else?
No, I think I'm good for today. Thank you guys for taking my call.
No, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you watching the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all have a great rest of your show.
All right, talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye. And if you want to talk to us, give us a call, 708-554-7836. And again, let us know what you think of the new time slot. Hopefully the you know, most of the same people who watched it live before will be able to watch it live now.
Well, so just do you want me to elaborate just a little bit on those 7 types of rest, just because they're so vague?
Yeah, please.
So the physical rest, I think it's a little obvious. Sleep, sitting down, you know, closing your eyes. But then there's mental, which is kind of, you know,
which is crucial for me. Right.
Like a lot of us, and I'm sure for you and me, when we close our eyes, that's when our mind kicks in. And then you just take off, blast off, you know. So it's important to allow your mind time and specifically dedicate time to allowing your mind to not doing that, right? Kind of like I've mentioned before, I'm not sure on here or if it's only been on my show, but sitting on your bench on the side of the highway of your mind, allowing your mind to be its highway, whether it's busy or slow, and to separate yourself and allow yourself to observe it kind of from the outside and just let it be, you know. So that's just one kind of mental rest. You know, meditation's a really good way to do that.
Which is, so I set an alarm at 3:30 so I could start getting in the habit of doing it again every day after work, because like during the day I was trying to do it with your broadcasts, but work is so like I can't always step away, and I want to really have a consistent time because I need to get my brain better focused so I'm not trailing in 382,000 directions. And I've
Mhm.
noticed the less I rest, or the more mentally exhausted I am, the worse my ADD is. I just end up feeling like I am in this bubble, like what's the term? Not disengage, disassociate.
Dissociate.
And the less rest I have, the further into that disassociative state I go. So it's crucial. But in addition to that, I don't want my seizures to return. So I'm like, I have to protect this as best as I possibly can.
Right. And I go numb, and to replace seizures with panic attacks. I don't have seizures, but I'll have panic attacks.
What is a panic attack like specifically?
So panic attacks can vary from person to person. I've had a couple different kinds, and the first kind of panic attack that I had, I used to call them almost panic attacks, because I realized what was happening, and I realized that I was losing control of my body physically. And so I think that I figured that out soon enough to remove myself from the situation that I was in, so that I could catch my breath and bring myself back to the planet. But what I called almost panic attacks are actually panic attacks. Your blood pressure goes up, your eyes dilate, your head starts spinning or just goes completely blank, and you just start freaking out. And it feels like the weight of the world is literally crashing down on you. So it's a crushing sensation. It's disabling. And so I've since then had panic attacks where I couldn't get away in time. And I've gone into full panic attack mode. And I'm not gonna lie, it can be extremely embarrassing. Like if there's any video of me at my worst, and I probably shouldn't refer to it in a negative way, but at my most extreme, most vulnerable, yes, my most panicked, I've gotten to where I've actually beat my head on the wall before, my forehead, just banging my head on the wall, crying, screaming, shaking, clenching, curling up in a ball, all the above. What I've learned about the head, beating my head on the wall, is that in that moment, see, this is the thing about panic attacks. The way that you are when you drink, you're fully there, but you're not in control. That's how I am with my panic attacks. I am fully present. I just feel like I am outside watching it. Like I am going through this and I am feeling every bit of it, but I have zero control over it. And so it takes getting yourself to the point where you're that aware in order to start getting control over it, which I'm still working on. I'm actually at the point where I've gotten to where I can remove myself early enough from the situation most of the time, where I haven't had to work on that very much. But if I get to that point, I don't necessarily have control over myself. So that's why I can be sometimes so understanding of other people's outbursts, and saying things that they don't mean, because sometimes you just get pushed to that point and you just don't have control over yourself and you just lash out. So what I learned about, sorry to go a little off topic, but what I learned about beating my head against the wall is that in that moment, I was experiencing like a vibration in my head, and it was soothing. Like,
sorry, when you were prior to that, you were getting a vibration, or by banging your head?
By banging my head against the wall, by doing that act.
Isn't that because like it's a pain response, so it releases something and you get distracted?
I again,
like the whole rubber band thing,
that kind of thing. What I've learned, so I actually got a vibrating neck pillow since then.
Ooh.
And that has actually been nice when I get very, very stressed, when I get very, very tense. Sometimes just pre-panic attack, putting on that vibrating neck pillow can relieve stress. And so I don't know what it is about vibration, but I may very well be wrong. Again, not a mental health professional, but on my own terms and after my own research have come to the conclusion that I believe that vibrations help. I want to look more into that. Again, as I become more of a professional, that's another thing I want to learn more about is vibrations.
Can you send me the link for this vibrating neck pillow? Because
Sure.
honestly, like I get anxiety quite often. Like I have it right now, and the problem is when that anxiety increases, my ADHD gets worse, which is why you'll see me Band-Aid, which is why you'll see me like looking over here. And for me, it's really frustrating because I know at times people get the impression that I'm, not respecting the conversation, but I am genuinely trying. It's just this brain that pulls me everywhere and it affects me in every avenue of my life. And yes, even sex. 1 minute, be completely focused. Next minute, oh, I didn't email this person, and then I'm done. It's over. I have to stop. So I do try my best, but anything I can do to help lower my anxiety, which in turn helps my ADHD, would be nice.
Jazz has got a good recommendation. Going into the freezer, so cold does the trick too. Placing my hand on my heart has really helped me when that happens. Shock my system and soothing touch. Yeah, so that's from one thing that I've learned about snapping yourself out of panic attacks is to have kind of like a safe word or a safe act. I don't know what you want to call it. I've never come up with a name for it. I'm just more of a conceptual thinker. But basically having something that you do that you can go to where the moment that you recognize that you're in that state of mind, that you're losing control, you do this. And it does enough to snap you out of it without triggering you more. Okay. So that's why I got this tattoo, breathe in, breathe out.
Ooh.
Because it's on my arm and I don't know how many times I've just glimpsed it and seen it and oh yeah, I need to breathe. And so breathing has become kind of like a motto of mine, is just coming back to the breath. That's like the most basic thing. That's like the first thing you do when you're alive, is you breathe. Right. So it's the most instinctive. It's so underrated. I could go off on the breath. But yeah, that's just my little safe act or whatever. Okay. But do you have anything that you do? Do you ever experience anything like that?
So I don't necessarily have the best coping mechanisms. Like when I get really, really anxious, well, I guess one is I'll go grab Band-Aid and like pet him and kiss him.
That's the thing.
But unfortunately, I tend to, which I'm not advocating for, and I recognize is not necessarily the most healthy habit, but I'll just go smoke some weed. Like I don't do it during the day, but at nighttime, like if I'm stressed, I'll do that rather than take the time to try and address or focus and handle the problem. For me, at times it gets just really overwhelming in my head. And or you know what else I'll do? I'll put on like a TV show or a movie to try and get my brain to calm down, because that's really what I need to do. I need to slow this down so then I can process what's stressing me out.
Exactly.
I'm when it's not slowed down, it's just like explosions going off in my head in all directions.
Yeah. This is a good point that Dale's making. Hurting yourself, rocking is when you feel as though you're overwhelmed, is called stimming. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I don't recommend it. I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. But it's something that I have done just to kind of paint an image of what a panic attack can look like.
Okay. So I don't know if this was a panic attack, but during my mental health crisis, what had happened to me was I started getting worse, and then I started like shaking and crying, and I was like holding myself like this. Is that just like a mental breakdown, or is that
a panic attack?
Okay. It sucked.
Yes, you're not in control of your body, and
you're just like
you're literally at such an extreme state of mind that it's unbearable.
Right.
It's literally unbearable. And so that's when your body just goes into overdrive. And, have you ever seen a machine that just goes haywire because it's overloaded? We're not too different, I don't think. I'm going to put that disclaimer in there because I am not a mental health professional. Anyway, yeah, so there's just so many different kinds of rest. And if you don't get enough rest, there's just so much harm that can come from it. So that kind of brings me over to the dangers of not getting enough rest or sleep is fatigue, short temper, lack of the ability to focus or make decisions. Remembering things is much harder to do. But then even further, if you go days without sleep, you can pass out. I think we already covered that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the next one?
So then back to, I guess, ways of how to rest, right? So we talked about sensory, creative rest, for people basically like us, like when we're creators and you're trying to come up with ideas and solve problems on the regular, any kind of creator, or even a parent, you're creating, a childhood environment for someone. You are a creator. And so giving yourself time off from thinking about those things, even if it's just for a couple of minutes here and there, just taking breaks.
Right.
That's a creative rest. And then emotional rest, allowing yourself to cry. I think that crying has been deemed, and this is all speculation, obviously, I think that crying has been deemed a weak thing because women in history have been deemed the weaker sex, and women tend to, or womanly people tend to be a little more open with expressing themselves and allowing themselves to cry, generally speaking. And so I think that that's why. And so since we've learned that women are not weaker than men, I think that it's time to learn that crying is not a weakness. Crying, in fact, I think is one of the things that has made us so strong, because allowing yourself to relieve stress, the tears are literally stress leaving your body.
That's what it does. There are times where I was just so anxious, and then I had a good cry, and I'm just like, it's like this weight was just lifted off my shoulders. Right.
And so sometimes if you don't get enough sleep, you lack the ability to stop yourself from crying. So your body's going to get you back. Your body's going to try to balance you out.
Right.
But yeah, crying can be very, very helpful. Social stress.
Ooh, you know what? Rest? Also, I think is helpful is just when you can take a breather and go for a walk, get out in the sun. It's so hard when you're really depressed because you just don't want to. And it can feel like one of the hardest things you can do, but so many times it can help. Mm-hmm. So if possible, try it. If you're in a safe area, of course, and you're mentally prepared to do that.
Right. And weather. Yeah, that's why one of the reasons that I've become so obsessed with walking is because it is so refreshing and it is so beneficial to me. And I lose control of myself less quickly if I allow myself time to do all of these things, right? Not only to give myself breaks and to take walks and all that, but to maintain my diet, make sure I get enough hours of sleep, all those things add up. And yeah, you're right. Nature's a huge part of that.
Right.
So then there's what TED Talks called spiritual rest. Did I define that?
Yeah. How did we define spiritual rest? Because I saw that and I'm just like, that's just, when I hear the word spiritual, it always sounds very woo to me.
I think what they mean, so just to read you what they said and so that you can understand how I came up with my interpretation, is they defined it as engage in something greater than yourself, meditate, add prayer or community involvement to your daily routine. So what I gather from that description is it's the ability to connect beyond the physical and mental, feel a deep sense of belonging, love, acceptance, purpose. So to feel like you belong somewhere. And in order to do that, I think just by this description, I think is a good way, volunteer.
Right.
Go buy somebody that's having a rough time some flowers. I used to actually, pre-pandemic, my one friend and I used to randomly like drop cookies on each other's door and just leave, so it's just do things like that. Make something about someone else or others and less about you, and give yourself a break from focusing on you and give back, because that just makes you feel like, hey, you know what? I'm making somebody feel good, or I have a purpose. So I personally, just for label's sake, I'm just going to call that self-rest. But that's just me. Anyway. So yeah, yoga, breathing, journaling is a kind of
that, like, or if you don't have a journal, text yourself or get on the computer and open a notepad. Like, that's times where I'll just like say I'm frustrated with someone, and I know I'm in an irritable state. I'll open my text pad. I will send a message to myself, pretend I'm sending it to them, and say everything I want to say. I'll get it out, and then I'll be like, I'll feel better, and then I'll read over it, and then I can think about what I actually need to say, rather than saying things in an emotionally heightened state.
Right. And so you can do, that's another good thing, is to write a letter to somebody and then throw it away.
Yeah.
So there's peace in that. So yeah, journaling got me through my childhood pretty much. Journaling and reading.
I wish I would have journaled earlier on. I still wish I'd do it, but I have to get in the habit of doing some very basic things. Like for me, I actually need a schedule, and I used to think I hated schedules, but now for instance, I used to work so much that when I took a day off, my whole day was like thrown off, and I was like, nope, I just want to work. And I thought it was because I was addicted to working or just a hard worker. But what I had learned was I need my schedule. I need the consistency, like that Monday through Friday. Because even now, when I take a day off from work, unless I like have something to go and do, it's my day's weird until 3 or 4 p.m.
And that's why one of the reasons that I'm struggling as well with not being technically employed is I have 100% control over my schedule. That is hard for me. That is hard. That's a lot of free time that I have to organize into not free time voluntarily. There's no absolute requirement that I do anything. And so it's difficult for me without a routine to get motivation to do the things that I need to do, or to even do the things that I want to do, because I freeze, because I feel bad because I'm not doing the things that I need to do. And instead I'm doing the things I want to do.
Right.
So that's actually on that list, is setting a routine for yourself. And so I'm actually the kind of person, if my routine is too specific or too detailed, I feel bogged down and trapped, and I resent it and I ignore it and I can't do it.
I agree with that. Like if I have like everything planned out throughout like the whole week or the weekend, it does stress me out.
Right.
But for like basic day-to-day things like work, cleaning the house, grocery shopping, like I need to actually like have this set day and time where I do those little things while still leaving my schedule open for, other stuff.
But also recognize that those tasks are pretty vague. They're not too specific. Clean the house, right? That could be so many different things. And so I think from what I've learned about myself, at least, is that to allow myself a routine, but a very flexible routine and a very general routine. Like for example, that's kind of like why I like the Ethan and Jenna Show on at 4 p.m. on Thursday, because I have my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Once I get back up and running completely, I'll have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. shows. And so it's like, okay, I can relax that whole section of my week in my mind because it's planned. I don't have to schedule anything else. I can't schedule anything else because I have a commitment now. But it's general because it's going to be about different things every time. So it doesn't make me feel trapped. It's things that I enjoy. So am I rambling? Am I making any sense?
No, you're making sense. Please continue. I'm listening.
And so what I do then is I kind of branch out. So I'm visualizing my week, and then I look at the rest. Okay, so I've got all my mornings then, right? Before 4 p.m., I've got all that open. And so I'm like, okay, well, Mondays I make me days, right? So that's the day that I dedicate to making sure that I get to walk at a special place that I don't normally have time to go to, or time to journal, or time to, do a craft like crochet or something that I don't normally do. And then so just kind of go from there and just make this is what I do, is I just make my schedule and my routine open to change. I think that's huge too, because that also keeps me kind of on my toes in life. It allows me to, when something does come up, I can say, okay, well, let's change this around. It's not so strict and so constricting that I feel trapped, or especially if something goes off, which, dude, that's life. It's going to happen.
It is. And being adaptable is important.
Right.
On a slightly unrelated note, I'm pretty excited. There is a new, I'm not saying what it is, but after something I tried had a profound effect on my personal mental health and gave me, let's just say, 2 days of really good ADHD and anxiety relief. I learned that I actually now need to put effort into my mental health and looking for a medication that will suit me and fix my mind. Because after those 2 days and everything kind of came back into play, I was like, oh my God, I cannot live the rest of my life with this mind. So I was supposed to start the new medication a couple of days ago, but insurance, pre-authorizations and all that crap. So I have to wait for them to approve it to get this medication. But I've got high hopes for people with my specific type of mental issues. It's shown promise. So I can't wait, because honestly, like, one of the biggest things I want it to do is to be able to give me more focus, especially when I'm having these conversations, because as I said earlier, sometimes my brain's just all over and it's hard for me to truly absorb what everyone's saying. So and if this medication doesn't work, I'm going to keep trying until I find a solution, because I want to be able to live a better life.
Good for you. And that's why we're here.
Honestly, since doing this show, Jenna, I have had so many realizations on just by you and me talking about these things. I told you one the other day on the pickup line, like before we went live, and it's just, my brain is now like putting together pieces and working on my issues and figuring out my triggers. And it's really exciting. And I just hope that by you and I doing this, that this show will help other people and they'll be able to find a way to get the support they need.
I love that. And see, even if it's just you that we're helping, this is awesome. This is why we're doing this. It's helping me too. It's helping me learn. Oh God, hearing it. Oh yeah, I want to get back to that. But hearing about other people's struggles from different perspectives is just so incredibly helpful to me. I wanted to mention, so I really hope it works out, but medication isn't always the answer. That's, I believe Dale said earlier in the chat that they're an ex-mental health professional. I don't know if that means that you're not qualified anymore, I don't know. I'm still learning about what an expert actually is. But it sounds like you've learned a lot about mental health, and I just from what I've seen so far, you seem like a reliable person, and I think that you're right.
Dude, he's one of YFNA's patrons. Very, very nice guy.
Cool. But yeah, the medication isn't always the answer. I wanted to mention that as well when you were talking about it, about how, yes, medication is helpful. And I can't stand how some people, just means you left. Okay. But some people are anti-medication, and if it doesn't work for you, great, or I'm sorry, whatever it is for you. But some people, whether they need it because their brain doesn't create certain chemicals or create certain chemicals in the wrong amount or the wrong time, that's not something necessarily just control. You know what, serotonin, I'm done. Stop producing. It's something that you have to learn. And sometimes, whether the medication is permanent or not, sometimes you need the medication just to give yourself the time to relax your mind enough to learn what to do, right, how to calm your mind, how to use it more effectively.
I'll get to your question in one moment, Amit, but just a reminder, we are still looking for call screeners for this show on Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Central, on the pickup line from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central, and Tuesdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central on the Perspective. If you're interested in volunteer call screening, please reach out. So Amit wants to know the difference between a panic attack and an anxiety attack. Now, before I answer this, again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm pulling this information from Healthline. So on the emotional side, an anxiety attack, you get apprehension, worry, distress, and restlessness, where that's not the same as a panic attack. A panic attack, you get fear of dying or losing control, a sense of detachment from the world. Then they both have the overlapping symptom of fear. Now, on the physical side, they do have the same responses. So heart palpitations, chest pain, shortness of breath, tightness of the throat, dry mouth, sweating, chills, trembling, numbness or tingling, nausea, headache, feeling, and faint. So the primary difference is in the emotional state.
And to be fair, terms are interchangeable depending on who you're talking to. And to many people, in fact, I've asked a couple of therapists about this particular thing, and they've said, well, it's the same thing. It's just synonyms for each other. So it just depends on how you use it. You can use it like panic attack is worse than anxiety attack, or an anxiety attack is like what I called a pre-panic attack. It depends on you, because each panic attack you have can be different, and each panic attack can be different from person to person. So to come up with like a black and white descriptor of what a panic attack is possible. It's very general. So I'd recommend, if you're interested in that topic, which it is a very interesting topic, to do a lot of research from a lot of different sources, because you're going to get a lot of different answers. So you're just going to have to come to your own conclusion. But I appreciate that you asked.
Yeah. I don't know. Did we cover anything? Is there anything we missed?
Well, I can talk about the benefits of sleep, because we talked about the harm of not getting enough sleep. But I don't know if that's interesting enough.
I don't see why not. Yeah, the harms of not getting enough sleep.
Oh, yeah. So the harms are the fatigue, short temper, right? Passing out,
irritability. I definitely get that when I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, and so that's kind of, the panic attack thing is kind of the extreme of that, right? It's kind of starts at being a little irked, and just kind of short. And then it just kind of graduates. And that's when the panic attack is kind of like the end of that spectrum. You know what I mean?
I would like to actually take the second to thank our patrons, Kenneth, Leonard, Expresso Cat, Doanya, Kaitlyn Beyond, and Rachel Watson. If you like what we do, consider becoming a patron for as low as $1 a month.
Thank you.
Yep. And we're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. and I will have the overlay fixed by next week. We didn't notice it until like 30 seconds before we went live. So I already sent a message to the graphic designer and asked if they could provide a new one. So yeah, we'll be good to go.
Yeah. So some of the benefits of sleep, according to scihealth.org, is it can boost your immune system, right? Better for fighting off COVID, better for fighting off pneumonia. I've gotten pneumonia a couple of times, like within 3 months, because I wasn't getting enough sleep and I was drinking and I was smoking and I was just not taking care of myself. Higher chance of getting sick. Less chance of getting sick if you get enough sleep. I'm trying to talk about benefits.
Yeah, because whenever I don't get enough sleep, it starts with my throat. I'm just like,
interesting. Yeah. Mine starts with my eyes. My eyes just get sandpapery.
That's when, that happens when I'm like dead tired, but
really?
The initial thing starts in my throat. And that's why I'm like, and if I don't get a good night's sleep the next day, then I will start getting like a real bad sore throat.
Interesting. Sore throat. That's interesting. I've never heard that. It can help you with weight control if you're trying to lose or gain weight. Getting enough sleep can help. It can strengthen your heart. Sorry, go ahead.
I need to actually gain weight. I'm getting pretty skinny, unfortunately. Like,
really? I struggle with eating enough. I was underweight when I got pregnant, and so I gained a lot. I actually gained the most the first trimester, just putting on pounds for the pregnancy. But it's sometimes it's hard to eat, and so sometimes people would assume that, oh yeah, you look so skinny and great. I'm like, I'm not trying to be. Like, I'm trying not to be. So that's an interesting topic. We could definitely talk about mental health and weight if we haven't already. But yeah, it can strengthen your heart, better heart health. I'm not sure why necessarily what the exact connection is. Maybe it's the REM. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that.
I don't know is definitely the safest and best.
Yeah. And so let's see, better overall mood and energy levels. I know that I'm much more bouncy and chipper when I get a good night's sleep, right? That sounds like a normal thing. Higher productivity. You can get better results when exercising. You have more energy, and improve your memory. So are you getting enough sleep, Ethan?
Some days yes, some days no.
It builds up. It adds up. Your body doesn't forget that you didn't get that 2 hours of sleep whatever time ago. And the next time you don't get 2 hours of sleep, you say lose a spoon.
Right.
Right? Whether it's a big spoon or a small spoon, whatever, you lose something. And so that's what I mean by your body doesn't forget. You will just continuously be irritable for the rest of your life if you just.
Irritability sucks.
I mean, that's like the bare minimum almost.
Crabby Ethan, I assure you, is not fun.
Yeah. So it's like next time you come across a very grumpy person, try. I don't know how to do this without coming off sarcastic because I struggle with that in my own life. But to ask them if they've gotten enough sleep, if they're taking care of themselves,
Have we done? I think we did mental health and relationships, but I think I figured out another topic. When you and a partner get together, and if you both or one of you has mental health struggles, that's something you have to get used to and adjust to what that person needs. Like that's right now, my girlfriend and I have an atheist girlfriend. So happy. Sorry. I'm a little giddy over that.
Such a gem.
Oh yeah.
And I love her posts.
She's smart. She agreed to tone down her feistiness because she's more feisty than I am.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. Correction. I never asked her to tone down her feistiness. I just let her know that she would be under far more scrutiny now if we were publicly in a relationship together. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to tone it down because you're the friendly neighborhood atheist, and I don't want you getting messages like, look at what your girlfriend said.
That's
So
fair. If it's her decision.
Yeah, no, I, again, did
Yeah.
not ask her. It was actually her idea. There's a few things which I'll talk to you about offline, but that's one thing. Like, we both have different mental health struggles. So, you know, we're learning each other's and how best to support it. But overall, it's pretty good. I think we're both very supportive. I can say she's extremely supportive of mine. Like, when I'm anxious, she just like snuggles me and like rubs my head, and that's just like, like that's all I need to feel better. And she's really good at doing that, or, you know, providing words of affirmation.
Yeah. And that go ahead.
I will say this, if this doesn't work out and I ever have to go in the dating pool again, the first thing I'm going to ask when I go on dates is what that person's love language is. Because now that I found someone whose love language matches mine, physical touch, I could not date somebody like without physical touch again, because
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we're both, and I'm not even talking in a sexual way. We're just always like touching each other, rubbing. And I've had partners where they're like, stop, don't do that. It's too much. And I'm just like, that's how I show my affection. So
that's a good topic, is mental health and love languages.
Yes, because honestly, like, the fact that our love languages are the same is freaking awesome. So
sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt. I'm trying to, like, I'm all like autistically trying to relate to you here. I'm like, but yeah, like, so I'm in the same boat similarly with my partner right now, in that he's very much a touch-based person and I'm very much a touch-based person. We have to cuddle. We have to get that from each other. But also, we both have those moments where we snap, we get triggered, and we are both at the same time, luckily, learning from each other and with each other about what's causing each of those moments for each other. So that's why I think it's so important, because if you don't get enough rest, you don't have enough self-control to snap out of your triggers necessarily. And if you can't snap out of it, sometimes you can't go back and remember and identify what caused it in the first place. And you have to be able to do that in order to fix it, in order to say, hey, you know what? This is what caused this to happen. Please don't let's try to come up with a way to prevent that from happening again. Right. Which that takes practice. But if you can't even remember because you're too tired and you went to bed and you never thought back on it, you're not going to fix it. And so it's interesting that I love that we're able to do that.
So Puck says, interesting. I always thought of learning someone else's love languages as learning how to feed their needs, and learning how they feed yours, not a point of compatibility. No, for me, it's totally different, because for, like, when your love language is physical touch and you're a touchy person and someone is not, and they're like, you know, stop or don't touch me, you feel like
rejected,
like a burden, and you're just like, okay, I'm sorry. Whereas when you both have that same love language, you're just touching each other all day. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a lazy day where we literally laid in bed and cuddled all day, just from morning to night. And it was just like, and I haven't found anyone I could do that with before. So this was just really, really nice.
Well, so just to be, you know, a little devil's advocate here, there may be some people who have other things find other things about that person that make up for that loss. You know,
that's true. I'm just saying, like, other people can have incompatible love languages. For me, I don't want to ever date somebody who my love language is, I'm incompatible with that.
Right. I mean, anything can be a point of compatibility. Like, whether or not somebody chews with their mouth open can be a point of compatibility for somebody. You know, for some people, it's just unbearable to watch, and some people just don't care or just don't control themselves. I don't know. But you get my point.
Right.
I mean, it all varies. So,
well,
I think
we're a good episode.
Yeah.
Fun. It started out for me a little rocky because I actually couldn't focus, and that's why I was like everywhere. But as the episode came on, I was able to hone in and get focused. So thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone who watched. And if you like what we're doing, please click like on the video, subscribe. And even if you can't become a patron, share the videos, get the word out, help us, get more callers and viewers. It really helps out.
Yeah, thank you everyone in the chat for engaging, and Jazz for calling, and Kaitlyn for screening. All you sexy patrons.
And Jenna, what do you have going on this week?
I have now limited my interactions online to some Facebook here and there, some Twitter, and Ethan and Jenna Show on Thursdays at 4 p.m. for the next couple of weeks. I'm actually due in 3 weeks. So I do plan on doing the next show and the next one. My due date is basically on the next show, the third one from now. So I might not be here. There might be a special guest in my place for a week, maybe two. It just depends on what happens.
Did we ask them yet about those specific weeks?
No, but we can find somebody else if they say no.
Okay.
So that's all I'm doing right now. But I want to be very clear. I am coming back full swing, and I am going to do my shows, and I'm actually going to come up with a really cool one. The one that I keep talking about, that I've been talking about for like months now.
Which one?
I don't have a name for it yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's the one that I've been talking about how I'm going to be more open with my own perspective and what I'm learning.
The Jenny perspective.
I'm thinking Genesis Revelations.
Oh, I like that.
That's what I'm thinking. But I haven't concreted it down yet. But yeah, so it's kind of going to be my baby, and I'm going to put a lot of time into that. And so keep an eye out. I'm not back full swing yet. I'm just doing the Ethan and Jenna Show, which is, I think, crucial. But that's what I'm down to right now so far. Ethan? Oh, and we both have 2,000 subscribers. Not on this particularly,
I know, it's really awesome. Like, we're doing this together.
Yeah.
But what you could do, we're trying to get you to monetize. So go click on a video, and if you can't listen to it or you're busy, put it on the background and even put it on mute if you have to. It every minute that somebody watches it helps out, and it's itchy. Jenna, like myself, eventually we want to do this like full time, and it makes a difference. So if you could watch more Jenna Belk content.
I mean, I appreciate that. I'm a little bit far from getting monetized because my watch hours have gone down because my activity has gone way, way down through the pregnancy. But that's one of the reasons that I'm going to come back full swing. I'm going to have a lot of content to put out. But to be fair, I'm not putting out a whole lot right now. And one of the reasons is that I can't necessarily handle a whole lot right now. I'm
That's understandable.
A couple of weeks away from one of the most pivotal moments of my life. So
that's the other thing. Ooh, relationships and when to talk about children, or that's okay. Never mind. I'm just going to gush, so I'm shutting up now because there's so much to talk about.
Well, we have a list and we can keep adding to it. So,
so today on Ask an Atheist, Helen Green will be on. Notes from Autumn is taking over as the host. After that, we have the pickup line at 9 p.m. Central Time. There's something going on this weekend. Crap. Oh, Sunday. I'm hesitant to promote it because I don't know the reliability of this person, but allegedly I'll be interviewing someone at 7 p.m. Sunday that went from a Christian preacher to an atheist active YouTuber back to a Christian.
Interesting.
So if all goes well, I hope it happens. And then obviously every Tuesday is the perspective. Wait, Jenna, aren't you? Is it next week you're on? No, the week after. Crap. Hang on.
I have my phone.
Ooh, I just thought of that, Jenna. Maybe I should plan a backup. I didn't think of that.
Maybe actually you should come up with a replacement just because I have a feeling he's going to come early.
That's okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I need Dave Warnock will be on the 15th. So I need to get someone paired with Dave Warnock. But next week is going to be Brian and Martin. But anyways, thank you everyone who watched. I hope you have a safe and wonderful week. And we'll see you on Ask an Atheist and the pickup line later today.
Thank y'all.
Bye.